Hello everybody. Okay, so before we get started, hope you guys are having a nice long weekend. It's a great weekend to learn some stuff or study some things that you may not have, or you may need some extra confluence on or whatever. So it's a great weekend for that. I just wanted to mention some economic events that are happening next week. Remember, we are closed on Monday, so we have a short week, which is already because that means it may be volatile. And then we have a lot of data coming up. Now, I'm not quite sure exactly, if this data will affect the market much, but we just want to be aware of it. So it's a PMI flash on Tuesday at 9:45 a.m. And then on Wednesday, I believe there was FOMC minutes are at 2 p.m. on Wednesday. So we already know. I mean, there's not a speech or anything. Actually, it's not scheduled now, but usually when they have those minutes, that means Powell is going to speak at 2:30. So even though it's not showing on the economic calendar now, the last time I noticed that, they just hadn't put it on there. So I am going to say that Powell will probably be speaking at 2:30 on Wednesday. So that's extra volatile. And then on Thursday, we have the GDP price index, PCE prices, and of course the job numbers. Then I think there's a couple of speeches, but Bostic speeches at 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. And then on Friday is the core PCE price index. And so it could cause for it to be a pretty volatile week. So, yeah, so looking at how things are looking on the week, they honestly look really similar to last week. There's not much of a change. We do see that VIX kind of almost did an outside, but it ended with a hammer, but the hammer is red and it's closer to like the middle. So interesting to see what VIX does because it's sitting right at that $20 level. So is it going to hold this level, come back down? I mean, it already took these folks out, so interesting to see what it does. It could also stay in this range that it's been in. If y'all noticed that for the past few weeks, it's actually been in the same range, just like the indexes. So really, unless it breaks over about 22 or under 18, it's really chopping around. And you kind of see that also on the indexes. I mean, the NASDAQ has a double inside week here. And you'll see that on the Qs as well. SPY almost had it, but just barely took out last week's low. So we'll see that shortly. The Dow did do an outside week. So, we're watching this because when we look at it on the daily, we know that the Dow has really been in this real, just horrible range for a long time and just can't break it. So, watching this to see if there's any weakness in the Dow that will extend to the indexes, or, if it has strength, then it breaks out of the range and will move the indexes as well. But yeah, looking at them on their daily, everything's still in that same range for the most part from last week. VIX has it's not really a shooter. It's not a shooter at all, honestly. But interesting to see if it breaks this $20 level. We may have some bullish activity. And then it's got a really strong support here at this 1826. So, this last couple times it hits here. It has hit here. It is rejected. So, we may see some bullish activity depending on what this does. NASDAQ has a doji on the day. So, and it didn't quite touch this 200, but really interesting to see what it does here. It has broken below its 8, but we left a gap on the day. It didn't have enough strength to fill that. So Russell 2000 has a nice hammer on the day, still kind of in this range right here. So you just kind of see that that's kind of like the going thing Okay. They made me lose my train of thought. Oh, we was talking about these on the daily. Basically, that it's all inside of a box for the most part. Um, yeah. So, I was going to. Well, normally I look at these here, but we actually got some requests to look at Apple and Microsoft. So I'll look at them on bigger screens, just kind of see what's going on. So, big theme you're going to see here is that a lot of them, just like last week we were saying, are starting to make this really big wick on the month. They're just all coming in. They've hit their targets and they're all coming in. So, although we may not see them make shooters, do outside months, they may make shooters for possible um, two down reversals next month, or it may find some support here and bounce from there. But yeah, a lot of them are showing that the bears are kind of taking control. But we still do have full time frame continuity for the most part. So unless it drops under there, bulls are still there. One thing I do want to point out though, is that with Microsoft there is an inside week that is red. So if it does break this 255 level here, then Strat target is that 242, 243 area, 242.50. So Microsoft could be a good play to the downside next week. Looking at it on its daily, it's a nice top here. It's just so much weakness right there. But however, keep in mind, on the day we are right at the 200. So looking at it on the week, that's really a strong support to break that 255 level. But if it breaks it, good night. Good night. And honestly, it's looking bearish there. Looks like they ran out of gas. Since this high, we haven't been able to make another higher high. The highs have been lower. So yeah, bulls really need to step out the gate this week. Otherwise, if the bears keep control, I really see this going down. So yeah, that's what I see on Microsoft. Now granted, it did fill this gap here and then created one here. So look at this on a 4 hour. This thing has just been gapping. So we could see some corrective activity, especially since we got here. The bulls did step in a little bit. If they continue, go up to this 262. But notice that we are under the 8 and barely could make it over the 20. Didn't even make it. Closed right at the 20. So Microsoft, I think, is in a really pivotal place, which I know will help with the indexes and how they move, because this can move it. And then also keep in mind, on the week we do have all these targets to possibly take out if the bearish strength really does continue. So interesting enough, the last couple times that we were above this, we fell. And we gapped down. That's really interesting, y'all. That time right there we gapped down, that time we gapped down. So if we gap down next week, but yeah, so watch Microsoft. That looks good. And then Apple, we know that Apple's still in that same range. When we look at it on the day, it's just stuck in this box. The only real signal here is a possible rev strat, which I like, because if Microsoft dies and Apple does die as well, then we would be targeting this 140 area. So but looking at it on the day, it's stuck in this box for the most part. The 157.50 is the quarter trigger. I mean the quarter outside, and it just couldn't do it. It got like barely up there and it came all the way back in. So you know, we just have to see if they can really break that to the upside. Let me see. So yeah, 157.50 is strong. Then it would be 158.66 and 160. It's a shooter on the week though, so you know. But we do still have time, full time frame continuity that's green. Possible Randy Jackson on the day. So if it doesn't rev strat on the week, then you know this. It may. See, the thing about it is when it gapped down here, the Bulls stepped in, but they didn't have enough strength to fill this gap. So interesting to see if they try for that, or you know it does that Randy Jackson and goes for the 156.50, and then tries for the 157.35. But it closed below the 8, and I think that's important to note, that it's has not done that since back here, y'all. If you look at all these candles, they've all closed above the 8. Even here, it closed above the 8. This is the first time that it's closed below it since back there. So I think that's key to note. Again, you know, Bulls could step back in, and that could have been enough correction, and they can, but it's still basically in this box. So that's the overall theme of Apple, is that I really wouldn't touch it unless it moves outside of this box, unless you know how to trade the range, which the range is this. And like I said, trading that would be this, you know, 2 up, possibly take it to here, not trying to hold it to see, but waiting for it to break through there, and then possibly playing it more to the upside, or waiting for a strong break to the downside, because it does still have this gap down here to fill. This 147. So the Q's double inside week here, so it's no actionable signal, but you know, just like Microsoft and Apple, it's just at a point where just kind of have to see what it does. If Microsoft dies, you know, then this 297 area is really the support that will break it, send it down here to this 290. I mean, on the week, we got a big old W here. So, you know, this may just have been because we also have this PMG on the week that we noticed last week, but, you know, it could take, like I was saying last week, it could take some weeks to take these out if it does it. Or, you know, that could have been strong bullish activity. This is the consolidation before we continue to trend. Y'all, a bird just got in my garage. Oh my God. Hold on. Get out. I know y'all over there laughing at me. Don't be laughing. Okay. I'm back. I got it out. Oh. Okay. What was I saying? Okay, double inside week. The PMG on the week is still watching that. If it does decide to break this consolidation to the downside, we know that we're gonna target all of these, and then you know, otherwise, this is almost like a flag on the weekly, bull flag. So then, if it breaks out above the 313 area, then we can start looking for 321. I believe when we look on the day, there's a gap up there. A little bit. Yep, at 322. That's really tiny. But, yeah, you see we filled this gap here, this 308 gap. And then since we've, now the bird's outside competing with me. Since we filled that gap, that's kind of the range that we've been trading in. Y'all see that? So this whole range right here is where we just have been stuck in. So you know, we kind of broke the structure a little bit, but not really, because we didn't break this here. So again, that 297 is really the strong support. That's the 200. That's the what we're looking to see if it's going to break. Otherwise, this may do a 2 up reversal. This is the doji, so it's not really confident, nobody in control. But we do still have full time frame continuity that's green. So we're sitting right at that support, and y'all know how I feel about that. If it breaks that, then you know we got some downside to go. Remember that if Microsoft goes or Apple goes, that's what we can expect that the Qs are going to go as well. So SPY. So SPY, like I was saying, it almost did like the Qs and had a double inside week, but instead it like barely took out last week's low. So we have a 1-2. I mean, either way, if it had been a double inside, or this 1-2, it's not really an actionable signal, unless it breaks above this 415, which we know that's when we see this on the day. You can even see it right there with my lines. How that's just a strong resistance. It can't break above this 415. So that's what kind of the box that we're looking for, to the upside at least, is for it to at least break that 415. And if it does, then we can target this 418. Next resistance, and then we have the gap that's there on the daily. But it didn't really do a whole lot this week since, we talked last week. We're still in the same range that we've been in, for the most part, between 415 and about 405, 404 area. I mean, it bounced savagely off of 404. So, but we did print a hammer on the day. So, like I was saying with VIX, it's interesting because last week we were talking about VIX and it had this shooter on the day. And then we were saying that because of this, we may look for a green day in the indices. And we did have a green day on Monday, I believe. Let me see. Was it Monday? Yeah, we did. See? So, same thing might happen. We had this sell off on Thursday. Friday, bulls stepped in. And then Monday, we took off. But again, it's still in this range, and all it's doing now is it's kind of wedging. Oh, all my lines are going to show all back up. Yep. Let me take this off. I'm on because I don't want to confuse y'all with that. I'm going to just show it, but this downtrend line here, it's wedging, but then this uptrend line here. Okay, so it's like sitting right at where it needs to basically continue this uptrend that it's in. We're still in this inverted head and shoulders area, still above the 200. So 200 is now, it keeps slightly moving up because it was at, I think, 399 last week. So it's only by like a couple of cents, but that's, to me, the next strongest support. After the 405, 404 area would be this 400. But also, yeah, so key to note that this is, making lower highs, lower lows. But we do have a hammer on the day, so possibly do a 2 up. But then it's going to put us right back into this chop range. So, to me, though, it looks like it's breaking down. I'm going to be honest. But I'm always ready either way, and, I don't ignore the time frame continuity. So, yeah. I'll also remember we do have this gap to the upside to fill that it may want to try to go for. It has taken these folks out, so could do it. Or could make another lower high and then come on back down. So we have to see what it does this week. Small caps, double inside week, not really much going on there from last week. Literally in the box. The same little box, but this is kind of like a cup and handle, larger cup and handle, but shorter term inverse head and shoulders. So, head and shoulders. Shoulder, head, shoulder. But I'm seeing a flag as well, so you have to see this tight wedging though. should make for an explosive move, whichever direction it decides to go. For me, these last few candles show me that, every time we push it down, the bulls are just stepping right back in. But nobody's winning right now because it's trading in a box. So that's the theme. I think I'm going to name this video Trading in a Box. Trading in a Box. All right, so XLE, of course, we've been watching energy, because energy has been, so strong last year. So you know that we are in the middle of this 2-week candle. It has basically, it triggered, but it's sitting there right now. So if it continues, we can expect it to drop another couple of dollars this week. So it would be, it would be triggering the 2-week. That's not really an actionable signal. It would be continuing on the 2-week, let me say, and it would be a 3-2 on the week. How are we looking on the month? Still an inside month though, but it's red. So yeah, gap down. So, and it's not looking like it's even close to trying to fill that gap the way this candle ended. And we do have plenty of room to the downside. So yeah, had to see. This is a pretty strong support where it's at though. This 84.50. Then my next support, of course, right here. It's about 83, which is that 2-week. That's a 2-week trigger. 2-week target. The next 2-week target. Cannot talk today. Alrighty, and XOXL. So also another one. This kind of actually looks a little bit like SPY with just the slight takeout of last week. So not really an actionable signal there. Also trading in a box, not doing anything. But what is noticeable is that it's rejected the 200 right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. 6 times it's tried and it has not been able to get above it. So keep that in mind. The SOXL. And then FXI I wanted to talk about because I believe on the daily, the MACD had crossed on the daily over here. So, it's looking really bearish, and it has broken below the 200. So, y'all know I've been bullish on China for the most part as long as it has stayed above its quarter trigger. What I'm noticing with all of them though is that they just didn't hit magnitude before the bears took control. So now they're all kind of sitting at their quarter trigger. So what I want to point out though is that Baba has earnings this week. So I think that's going to be key for it to figure out what it's going to do. Because it's sitting right at the 200. So is it going to come down and fill these gaps and keep falling? Or is that enough correction and it's going to go back to the upside because good earnings? So watch China this week to see how Baba does, to kind of see if they are going to go back into being bullish, or if it's going to completely flip red and just that whole yearly theory is out the window. So it's Baba's at my, and I have been shorting it honestly, but it's at my little critical point. Like, okay, what are you going to do? Are you going to go from here, or was that it? Because it basically gave up all those gains for the most part. And then Snow, I wanted to point out that the bears took control here with this 3. So it does a 3-2. I believe it was the monthly. Yes. So the 50% trigger is at 140. Keep in mind for the rest, we have I believe 7 days, 6 trading days left for a month. So keep that in mind, as far as whether or not it can move enough. But if it does, it's like a succession thing. So, the 50% is at 140, right? The 2-week trigger is at 151. So that target would be the 135.26. Because I don't think it will do the whole 50%. I mean, the whole outside month in 6 days. That's a lot. That's 120. That's like $30. But what it could also do is leave us with a shooter on the month, and it will finish it next month, come down to 120. So, we're going to continue watching snow to see if it breaks down. And you kind of see it kind of did what SOXL did, where it just really couldn't break this 200. Kind of have like a double top here. Yeah, so watch snow. And then some member requests. Google. Believe Google, yes. Google is almost triggering the outside month as well. Which that target would be 85. It's like $9, so it could do that. Also close to triggering this 2-week to the downside at 94. It tried, but the bulls stepped in last week. But if it does, then that 91 will be my first target. And then the outside month at about 86, right? Yeah, 85.32. So there's no actionable signal really on the week. And it rejected its 200. It tried, but it just couldn't. And now we got a head and shoulders here. But it's in this box. So, if anything, it could even two up right to this box. Come back down. But I really wanted to break that 94 and hold under it for more downside. It's under all of the EMAs, so that's good. It's all bearish to me. But yeah. So it needs to break this box that it's in to either, go up here and come back and retest this, or to finally fall and do that outside month. So that's, you know what, I wanted to look at it on a 4-hour. Got an inside 4-hour here. So yeah, it kind of looks the same there. It may come back even to come fill this little piece of gap. But notice that basically it's in this range right here where it's gapped up from. So it's kind of sitting in this area, ironing this out for its next move, which to me looks like it's going to be down. Time frame continuity is mostly red here, so I'd like Google to possibly do that outside month. And then Neo, look how Neo is still an inside month, and Neo has been in a box for a few months now. It just can't really break this, so it's got support around 950. But then it can't really break around 13. This hasn't had a good quarter at all. Yeah, but it looks like it's about to break down. So yeah, well, this is kind of a support for it, $10. If it does break that, then the next one would be $9.50. $9. Looks like y'all see I always go left. It's ironing out this area right here. So it's either gonna iron this out and move back to the upside, or iron it out and then come on down. So yeah, it definitely can continue to go down. It definitely doesn't have to be it for it. Looking at it on the day, it has a habit of rejecting this, coming down, rejection, coming down. It's not making any higher highs. We do have a hammer on the day here though. So shorter term, if it can break this 1023, 1060, but you know, this is a box. So then it would need to break that 1060 for more upside. To 11, fill this gap here, 1115. Let's just coincide with this. Otherwise, yeah, a $10 break. 950. So even if you wanted to invest in this and put like you a limit order at 950, that's a good look. It's technically, I mean, well, it's not making higher highs though. It's making higher lows so far if it keeps here. If it doesn't though, I would expect it to take this out and then fall. I don't have my lines on it, but you know, if I did, it would just be like a lot of these things that I show y'all are in boxes are like basically in the middle of a daily or weekly broadening formation. So, and this Neo CVS, I believe, yes, it's close to trigger. Well, it was close. It did trigger it, and then it came back in. So, I want to remind y'all again, another thing about the 50% rule. There are a couple of tips with that. The first one is that often if it doesn't finish it, that whatever, let's say month, because we're on a month, that month, it may finish it the next month. The other tip is that if it doesn't finish, that 50% level is also a level where people may step back into either short or buy again. Because people, you know, use fibs and they use that 50% level as a retracement to buy or to sell often. So that kind of looks like what happened here. So you have to see if it gets back above that 89.11 or if the sellers stepped back in and basically took over there. It's an inside week. So yeah, really needed to break this 90.63 for more upside. And then, you know, if it breaks that 90.63, then you can expect it to get to this 93.47. Because that's the outside month. And then, yeah, next target here. It's had several red weeks. Consolidated. Buyer stepped in, consolidated. So, yeah, interesting to see if it breaks out of here. Especially since it took these folks out and hit the bottom of this broadening formation. And looking at it on the daily, did not quite fill this upside gap. So that was an earnings. So yeah, it was an earnings move. Came back down and closed right on these EMAs. So yeah, kind of have to see who takes control. It's in conflict right now. Who takes control here? Do the bulls take control and push this back up and then it goes for the outside month? Or do the bears take back control, I guess? These 3 days, you know, green, and then come down and fill this gap. So that would be my first downside target, would be this 86.65. So 87.89, 87.40, and then that 86.62. But it's gone down so much. Maybe time for it to recover. And it's had its earnings out of the way. I'm not sure how its earnings was, so but it's a good look. I do like it. Even if it does move to the downside, there's some range there. It's range either way. So yeah, I like CVS. I also like Square. I really, really, really like Square. And it's interesting because I really loved Square up until I realized it had earnings this week, which y'all know I don't like because, first of all, we got a short week. So the earnings, I believe, what day is it on? Oh, it's on Thursday. So y'all know the IV is going to be high, and it's just going to be super expensive. So, you know, I like playing Square when it's not that expensive. So we may have to just keep this on our list and revisit this next week and see how it did after its earnings and maybe play it afterwards. But we do have a PMG here that I want to point out. We have this inside week with this absolutely beautiful shooter where it's just sitting at support. The issue is, I think it's waiting on earnings. So although this chart looks super, super bearish to me, earnings can trump that. So that's why, I really won't, unless it like triggers before then, like, maybe Tuesday and Wednesday it decides to trigger down, and, it may be a good play to that 69. Either way, it's going to be expensive though, because it's a couple days before earnings. So it might not do anything, and then it'd be nice if it waited till after earnings and then it came down and took all these folks out. But then it could also 2-1-2 up and finally go, because Square has been beaten down for so long. Y'all. Look at this. Like, it's just, it's been beaten down. But, also when you look at it on the monthly, we kind of have a little bit of a inverted head and shoulders here. So that's really valid above 62. If you look back, you can see 62 is like a really strong support. But we have come in on a month, so it's possible it's going to do an outside month. It's like $1 away from doing an outside month. So we can watch this to see, how it does on earnings. If, the price moves down and it goes down to doing that outside month, we can catch that. So keep an eye on Square. As you can see, also it's rejected this 200. Like that, when I forget who put it in the chat, but when they put it in the chat, I was looking at that like, oh my gosh, this is, everything about this is telling me that this chart is about to fall. Everything about this, but again, earnings. So we could we'll notice the PMG to the downside. We notice that it's rejecting the 200 here. We don't really have upside gaps to fill, in case it does run, but there are, there's plenty of magnitude to the upside if it decides to run up. So if it does, and it breaks, this would be my first real strong resistance. It's 82, 84, like 90, and then about 93. So that's what it could do to the upside. But yeah, everything about this is telling me that it's going down. And especially if it doesn't push from here and make another high to take these folks out, and this was another yet lower high from here, then that's just not looking good for Square's chart, in my opinion. And so Disney, let's see, Disney is not close to triggering that. But it did trigger the 2 week to the downside. So if it continues, it could possibly hit 97 this week. There's no actionable signal there, but you see the rejection and come down. So basically it like Jay said, it hit its supply and it died. We got a head and shoulders here. So, and we have plenty of targets over here to take out. And a slight gap on the day. If it decides to hit 2 gaps, there's one here, 87. Did this get filled? Not quite. 96. So yeah, you see, y'all know how I talk about the 200. It broke above. It held until earnings, and then. So now, are we gonna retest? That's possibly what it may do. It could 2 up. So Tuesday, it may be a good play to 108 to do the 2 up to retest here. Otherwise, it may just continue on down. Yeah, because the bull stepped in on Friday. But, it's a big old head and shoulders there. Like, if anything, I may expect it to come back up and retest this right here before continuing down. But, yeah, Disney looks like it's about to fall. A lot of these charts, even though they're inside, some of them were double insides, they still look pretty bearish to me, unless the bulls really step in. So UPS, the only setup here would be a possible rev strat on the week, the only weekly setup, let me say. But if it did, we need to break this 187, 188, and then you could target this 193, 194. Especially if it holds right here. It would be a decent look. I believe, as I'm looking at it on the month, Yes, on the month, 179.70 is the 50% trigger. What's it the day? No, because this is Kiki's. So we're gonna look at it on the 4 hour. And so I am thinking like Kiki right now. We're below the 200, right? We found a little bit of support here. So she is going to be looking for this to retest here possibly. Back up to fill this gap, this 185, maybe to even this 186 area. Or if it does a 212 down and breaks this 181 area, 178, and then 176. And then keep in mind 179, around 180 is the 50%. So the target would be 173. That's $10. Can it do it? Yeah, it can do it. So the 4 hour, 173, that's there. Yep, so keep UPS on your list. Could definitely do this retest. You can play it to the upside. It may do something like a H to fill that and then come down. Or it may come up and retest this and go. And then she also mentioned Wells Fargo, nice shooter on the week. And I believe this may have, when I was looking at it, I was looking at it as it could go either way type thing, because it has found a support right here. It would really need to break this 47 to really go down. But if it does, it has all of these targets, and at least down to the 200 that she would be trying to pay it to. Consequently, if it moves to the upside, it could come back up and retest this 47.82 and then maybe this gap here, 48.50. But it's looking like, you know, it's coming down. Y'all can always ask Kiki. If because you know, sometimes she's not here. She just tells me what to look at. If y'all have any questions, like, just ask her in the study time chat. All right, so FedEx double inside week here. Look at it on the month. So it's basically hit its magnitude and came back in. So they're gonna just keep yelling. Okay, so yeah, it hit magnitude on the month and came back in. Let's see, nothing on the 2 week or the week. So basically, it's been trading in a box. Gapped up and found support at 206 and then again at 208. So I would need it to break really this entire range. 217 or between 206. So 206 to 217, that's the range you have there that you're either going to need to trade that range or wait for it to break out of. Because, yeah, it's basically just consolidating right now after that big move. So, you know, it could be flagging and continuing up, or, you know, it may want to correct some because that was a really big move this week. 188 to, no, I'm sorry, 183 to 217 in 1 week. So that makes sense why it has this double inside week, because it's basically inside of this mother bar right here. So you really needed to break out above 217. Otherwise, it's really going to probably chop inside this entire mother bar. It may do something like slowly bleed down here while it corrects and then move up, or, you know, that's really, I don't know. But I just know that this is a big mother bar right here. So you really, if you want to be bullish, you really needed to break 217. And then bearish, you really needed to break that 206 for it to come down. And then your next support would probably be this 200 at 196. And then Tessie. So one thing I wanted to point out was that Tesla has triggered the outside quarter. So keep that in mind. As long as it's above 182.80, it is above the 50% trigger. And you know, another thing about that 50%, if they didn't short it right there and it continued, then you know that shows strength right there. We know it's at resistance though, but just keep in mind that if it holds above 182.87, it could possibly hit 257.50. And so you know the strat is a series of if then. If it holds, then it can hit 257.50. But that's only if it holds. And then also this is a quarter target, so that would be by the end of March that it would do that. So not really anything going on there or there. But we do have this 3 on the week. So if it breaks, it would need to break 218 for the bulls to do a 3-2. And this continue, then we got 237 and then 257.81, which is that quarter target. Basically, it's 257.50 is that quarter target. So, of course, I expected this would be a hard resistance right here if it can make it. The thing is, it's already at a hard resistance. So, we just have to see if it does a 3-2 up or a 3-2 down, or if it just even does a 3-1, then whichever way. So, even though, you know, we do also have that outside bar, we do have several downside targets should it decide to reverse. Also keep in mind, looking at it on the daily, is rejected at 200. So that's really the strongest resistance, which is why I said that 217.65. It needs to break up above there for the bulls for me to really stay bullish and say, okay, yeah, it should definitely hit that outside month target with ease. But right now, this is the hard resistance that it's at. And then remember, we do have a gap here on the daily around 147 that it could come and fill should it take out all these targets and move to the downside. So I believe the target that Jay gave us was 188. That sounds about right. It's so crazy. Sometimes it goes right with the strat targets. That's right here. Yep. So this is Jay's short-term target that he gave us. This 188. But right now on the day, we do have a hammer here. So this could do a 3-2-2 Tesla on a Monday. I know I said a lot in the Discord, although it's going to be a Tuesday. You know, if it picks a direction, it may be nice. So if it does decide to come back up here and test this, that may be nice. That would be the only actionable signal on that day, though, unless you take a 4-hour reversal here. Yeah, it would be a 4-hour Randy Jackson to go down. Kind of sort of double top here. This is a higher high there, but yeah. So that's what I see with Tessie. And yeah, we do upside gap 261 or 262. That would be after the outside quarter though. Not saying, just pointing it out. We're just looking at that chart. So we got upside and downside gaps to go for, but yeah. And then coin. Look at coin on the month. So it came all the way back in, but you know, it did a 3-2. It's funny, I do like 3-2s now, and it took out all of them, and then came back in. So coin, what are you gonna do here? Only weekly is a possible rev strat if it can get above 73. I don't know if it can do that in 4 days though. That's a bit much. Looking at on the day, it's a doji on the day, 2 dojis. Well, that's a gravestone doji, and this is just indecision. So yeah, this could definitely do a Randy Jackson. So I mean, looking at it on the day, it looked like it found support here. So it may do, it needs to break above this 68.50 or 68, and then it can touch 73, 76, 79, and 87. There's no real upside gaps or downside. So that would be the only actionable signal on the day. Could possibly true. That would be 73.16. It's got a $7 ICR. I'm tripping talking about can it do it. 73.16. So this would be the trigger. All right. 73.16 to 87. It would have to have like 4 green days to do that in a row, but it could do it. It's coin. So yeah, watch coin to possibly rev strat. This Randy Jackson could do it. Then if it holds above this 73.48, it can, and then the 79.23, it may try for that. I'm not sure if it'll hit that magnitude though, because what may end up happening is it may stall here and then finish there the next week, just because it's not enough time in the week because it's a short week. So I'll have to really see what coin does. Found some support here and it closed above the 8. So, and if this holds, this could possibly be a head for a shoulder. So if it moves a little sideways here and then booms up. So that's coin. And then I just wanted to show you guys a few of the 50% monthlies. We already went over Google and HD, but AZN is another one that has triggered. So 72.12 is that target. PayPal is actually almost done. So yeah, CVS, or we already went over CVS, and then Overstock. We got another $1, and then PepsiCo, PEP. I wonder if that Tesla ad about the Tesla Pep truck helped that. But yeah, it did a TTO, and then it may try to go for that. So 182 is $6. It could definitely do it. There are other ones, but I just tried to mention ones that I think could finish the outside month in time, in the next 6 days. So that is all I have for today, you guys. Let me go check the chat in case I missed any. Nope, looks like I got them all. Let me look in. Check this one. Oh, good morning, humble trader. Oh, she said coin has earnings this week. I'm glad you said that. I did not see that. That really doesn't change my analysis a whole lot, but for me, because it was already like semi-bullish, I'm thinking that if they beat, like, then that's how you can definitely get that rev strat to go. Maybe a little expensive to play. I'm not sure what day. Let me go check that. In fact, I can post it really quickly. Hold on, y'all. Oh, it's Tuesday. Oh, that's great. That's great, T. I love that actually, because since it's Tuesday, that means that we can play it afterwards. So Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday would be a good look because it'll be out of the way. The implied volatility will be down. It won't be stupid expensive, and whichever direction it picks, hopefully we can catch that move. So I like coin. Because Coin and Square have, well, no, they're not really. Yeah. They both do have earnings, so they kind of have similar setups, except Square to me was a lot more bearish, but Coin could definitely go down, but I'm thinking, it may possibly rush that. It's really going to depend on the earnings. I can't really say what it may do. It's just we'll just prepare for whichever way it goes. If they yeah, this has no chance of doing an outside move, so I think that it's somewhat found support here. Just have to see. But yeah, if it beats its earnings, I bet you it'll get to that 87 pretty easy. May even do one of those things where it does that overnight or after the earnings, and then may have to catch the gap fill or however or it might gap and go. That's what a lot of things have actually been doing. What just did that? I can't even think off the top of my head. Something. Roku. Although it came back in, but the day after its earnings, it ran from 68 to 76 before it started coming back in. So it was still a decent play to play the next day for the bullish run, for that bullish, continuation. So, chart it out, chart to see it whichever way it can go, and then after the earnings, if it continues in the direction that it's going, then catch that move. So yep. So that's all I had. I can't believe I talked for an hour. Well, I can't because y'all had tickets for me today. I appreciate it, y'all. I really do. But I am going to go. Does anybody have any other tickers they want me to look at before I head out of here? Any questions for me? You're welcome, Benita. You're welcome, Humble Trader. I appreciate you guys as well. All right, y'all enjoy the rest of your long weekend. Happy. Oh, I ain't gonna even say happy President's Day. I am not. Nope. We ain't doing that up here. But y'all have a great one. All right. Bye.